Hey everyone, this is Mr. W. Our topic for today is called Input and Output Tables. This lesson is focusing only on addition. By the end of this video, you will be able to find the rule for an input output table and then solve for missing numbers. Find the rule and complete the table. So this is an input output table, and you can see our job is to find the rule and then to fill in the information for these blanks here. And I see here on the left is our input. That's what we begin with. And here it's output. So my first decision is just to take a look at our input numbers and compare it to the output. I see that we start with 4 and that we go to 11, which means it's getting greater. So my choices are, it's either going to be an addition or multiplication. I know that I cannot multiply 4 by any number and get 11. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to be an addition rule. So what I want to do is I want to take the information from my input and output and use that to write an equation. I'm going to do that over here. So I'm going to start with the 4. And we said that we think that this is going to be an addition. So I'm going to try addition. I don't know what I'm adding. So I'm going to use a variable. A variable is an unknown. It represents an unknown. And then that will equal 11. My job is to solve for n. Now, I know from experience that n is going to be 7, but let me show you how you can find that, especially when the problems get harder. You remember fact families, so I'm going to show this as a fact family. Instead of addition, let's make subtraction. So we could rewrite this as a subtraction fact. 11 minus, we could subtract n, but we could also subtract the 4. I'm going to take the 4 is equal to n. And when I take 11 and subtract 4, that equals 7. Remember, with fact families, if n for the subtraction is 7, this is also 7. So my rule is going to be a plus 7. I'm going to try my rule here and do the similar strategy. 5 plus, but remember, I don't have to write n because we determined that that would be 7. So 5 plus 7, when I do that, that would equal 12. I'm going to check, even though this one's completed, just going to double check and make sure it's working. 6, our rule is plus 7, and that does equal 13, so that checks out. Here I notice that we have our answer, but we do not have this number, but I can use a similar strategy. I'm going to put this time as a blank. I'm not going to write n because we solved for n up here. We said that's 7. So blank plus our rule, which is plus 7, is equal to 17. Well, that's not helping me, but I can subtract because of my fact family information. So 17 minus 7. And when I do that, I would come up with 10. So this would be 10. And finally, 15 plus 7, that's our rule. And when you add that using a strategy for addition, you would get 22. So that's what we mean when we say to find the rule, which we used our equations to do that and our fact family knowledge. Once we found the rule of plus 7, we just had to use that to find the missing numbers. And in this case, we had to use our knowledge of fact families to find the input value. When you do input and output tables, usually you would have to make a decision. I'm just going to call this a decision flowchart. Now, the flowchart is down here. A decision flowchart would just mean that you would have to ask yourself a series of questions to come up with what to do. So for this example, we have an input-output table. We don't know the rule. That's our job, is to find the rule. And to do that, I need some information. So the first thing I do on my input-output flowchart, which is this down here, is first thing I do is check my input and output. Here's my input, 5. My output is 15. So I notice that it got greater. I check these, all of these, it got greater. So when I check the input and output, either it's going to be the output is going to be more, or the output is going to be less, meaning that more or less than the input. Well, in this case, our output is more, and we said that 15 is greater than 5. All these are more. Once it's more, it's either going to be addition or multiplication. And then that would be our job. I did say for this video, for this lesson, we're doing addition today, so I'm not going to take too much time talking about strategies for multiplication. But so we would check our input and output, determine is the output more or less. If the output is more, I have two choices, either addition or multiplication, and that would be the next step. Our strategy and steps, our goal is to find the rule, because when we have the rule, then we are able to solve all the information. We talked about our decision flowchart, so we would have to decide, is the rule going to involve addition or subtraction or multiplication or division? Remember, for this lesson, we said we're focusing today on addition. As we did on the previous page, we write an equation, solve for our variable. Remember that variable is a letter that represents an unknown number. We can use our knowledge of fact families, and some people call that inverse operations. And it's always good to check twice. I'll show you that down below here. And then we would just simply solve for any missing numbers. For example, down on this one, you can see that we have some blanks, and that's what we mean when we say to solve. Okay. Find the rule and complete the table. Notice that this input-output is running a little bit different from the one on the previous page that was running up and down. This one is running from left to right. Okay. So first thing is on my decision trees, I check my input and I'm seeing 17, output is 26. Well, these are getting more. It's either going to be addition or multiplication. I know that I cannot multiply 17 by any number and get 26, so this is going to be addition. So I'm going to take the first input, which is 17, and output, and I'm going to write an equation. So we'll take the 17, and I said I decided this was addition, plus n is equal to 26. My job is to solve for n. This may not be helpful, but I can use my fact families, and instead of adding, I'm going to subtract. 26 minus, I'm not going to subtract n, but I am going to subtract 17, equals n. I could show that right down here. And I go 6 minus 17. I cannot do that. I would have to regroup. That would become 1. This would become 16. That would become 9. And 1 take away 1 is nothing. So in this case, n would equal 9. If n is 9 here, it is also 9 here. So we've determined what our rule is. Our rule is going to be plus 9. Now we do want to check it twice and make sure. I'm pretty sure this is right though. So let's check it on this one. Ready? 25 plus 9, because now we know the rule. We don't have to do the plus n anymore because we already figured out that that's going to be 9. Well, when I add 25 plus 9 using my addition strategies, it does equal 34, so we're good. So now we need to find this. That's easy. We're going to take the 33 plus 9. Well, I know that if I take 33 and add 10, it would be 43, but that would just be one less, so it's going to be 42. So that one is 42. I'm going to solve for here. 41, and then our rule, plus 9. If you use a strategy for addition, you'll find that that would be 50. For here, it's a little bit trickier, but we're going to use the same kind of thought. This is a blank, so I'm actually going to say blank, and then what is our rule? Plus 9 equals 69. That may not be helpful right now, but I can still turn this into a subtraction fact. 69 minus 9. And then if you work through your steps for subtraction, you would arrive at 60. So that would be 60. Okay, here's your final exam. I challenge you to go ahead and pause that and see if you can find the rule and complete this table. So if you want to, pause now and try to solve. I'm going to go ahead and solve this one. I know I have to first in my look at the input and output and make a decision. I see that 13, then it goes up to 24. So these are going up. 35 to 46 is more. It's either going to be addition or multiplication. And I know that 13 times any number will not equal that. So this is going to be an addition. I'm going to write an equation. 13 plus n. Remember, I don't know what I'm adding, but I do know that whatever it is, it's going to equal 24. This doesn't help me yet, but I can turn this into a subtraction fact. 24 minus, I don't want to do minus n, I want to do minus 13 equals n. Well, if I do that down here, 4 take away 3 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So n is 11, which means that if n is 11, so is this. So my rule is going to be plus 11. All right, so 27 plus 11, and that would get us at, I believe that would be 38. I'm just going to check and make sure. 35 plus 11, that's our rule. And that would equal 46. So, yep, so I checked it twice. We're going good. Okay, last one, 48 plus our rule of add 11. Well, if I add that, I'm going to come up and use a strategy. I'm going to arrive at 59. So this last one would be 59. Okay, so reviewing today, our topic was input and output tables. We focused on addition. We said that our strategy is to do a decision chart and decide if we are adding or subtracting, multiplying, or dividing. We use an equation and our knowledge of fact families to solve and to help find the rule and then to solve. All right, thanks everybody.